Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be comparing Mitsubishi to Fujitsu. These two ductless manufacturers have been fighting for dominance in the United States since the 1980s. And so since then, they've been trying to compete for market share in the United States, competing for your attention, for you to buy their products. So today we're going to look at the comparisons, the similarities, the differences, and maybe by the end of the video you can decide which manufacturer is right for you and your home. So let's get started. So in order for us to start to figure out which manufacturer is best for you, we need to look at comparing these two brands. Now, both these brands have been present in the United States market for quite some time, starting around the 1980s, and both have been developing their brand recognition, developing their product overview and their offerings to their customers since that time. Now, both of them offer different things, and we'll get into that a little bit later, but we did want to say that both of them have headquarters in the United States. They're very heavily distributed, heavily supported products, and so when it comes to their presence, both of them are very similar in that way. Another similarity, which we just mentioned, is their support networks. The way that they go to market is very similar to each other because it just makes logistical sense. Both of them use distributor networks, large distributors that hold a lot of inventory, and those inventory centers carry parts and new equipment in order for contractors to be able to get those parts and equipment and distribute them to their customers, their homeowners, their business owners, etc. So both of them are set up very well to be able to support problems that come up, and they both have tech support associates that are trained in those brands to be able to go out to home visits and sites if things go wrong. So from a technical support standpoint, they're very similar, and from a distribution standpoint, they are also very similar. Another similarity between the two brands is they both have extensive contractor networks. Mitsubishi's contractor network is called the Diamond Contractor Network, and there's different levels and different tiers within that contractor network depending on how much product they sell within a certain time period. And Fujitsu also has a contractor network called the Elite Contractor Network, and it's built the same exact way. However many units the system or the company sells, that determines their tier rating and ranking within the network. So those networks are based on the zip code that customers live in, and those are the certified companies that have gone through all the certifications and all the install classes that are needed in order to certify them in the brands that they represent, Mitsubishi and Fujitsu. The last similarity we'll cover between Mitsubishi and Fujitsu is their warranty on their products. Mitsubishi has always been on the forefront of providing industry best warranty on their systems, and Fujitsu has always mimicked exactly what Mitsubishi has offered. Now, in the past, Fujitsu has provided less of a warranty for some of their lower tiered items, but in 2024, when we're recording this video, Fujitsu has the exact same warranty as Mitsubishi across the board, which is 7 years compressor, 5 years parts on out-of-the-box warranties, 10 years warranty on parts and compressor if you register the system and use a licensed contractor, and 12 years warranty if you register the system and use a certified licensed contractor for whatever equipment that you are installing in your home. So for Fujitsu Elite contractors, if they're installing Fujitsu equipment, then you get 12, and Mitsubishi Diamond contractors, when they install the equipment, you also get 12. So very similar warranties across all their product lines for both Fujitsu and Mitsubishi. Now we want to look at the differences between Mitsubishi and Fujitsu, and we're primarily going to be looking at the actual systems and how they perform. The first category under system performance is how they operate in low temperatures. So Mitsubishi has a technology called hyperheat that is able to allow the system to operate down to -13 degrees Fahrenheit. Fujitsu has systems, they're extra low temperature systems that go down to -15 degrees. So a little bit more than what Mitsubishi can offer. Now, what does that actually mean? It means that when you're heating your home and it's getting colder and colder and colder. With those hyperheat or extra low temperature systems, they are able to heat down to those negative temperatures, and they're able to get 100% capacity of heat down to 5 degrees Fahrenheit, and then 90% heating capacity down to the negative temperatures. So most of America is not going to experience negative 13 degrees or negative 15 degrees. But for circumstances when the temperature does drop, you want to make sure that even at 5 degrees Fahrenheit, you're covered with 100% heating capacity to make sure that you're not experiencing heat loss in those colder temperatures. The second category of system performance and the differences between Mitsubishi and Fujitsu we'll look at is the system noise levels. Now obviously this can be really important for some people if they're putting a system in their bedroom or in a main living space and they don't want to hear the system running. It's already enough that there's something hanging on the wall, they don't want to hear it. And so this makes a difference for some people. So for Mitsubishi, the lowest that they go down to in decibel level is 19 decibels. And for Fujitsu, it's 21 decibels. So very close to each other, but Mitsubishi has been known to be the quietest systems that are produced on the market. And the real difference is the outdoor units. Now the outdoor units for most conventional heat pumps can be extremely loud where the neighbors across the street or down the street can hear a heat pump running. But with these mini splits, Mitsubishi and Fujitsu both have extremely quiet indoor and outdoor units, with Mitsubishi beating out Fujitsu in both the indoor and the outdoor decibel levels. To give you an example of maybe something else that has decibel rating, a normal conversation typically would have about a 60 decibel rating. So you can imagine at 19 or 21 decibels, or the outdoor units that are ranging from 50 to 60 decibels, is still extremely quiet compared to what we can look at a normal conversation, which is rated around 60 decibels. So extremely quiet systems, but Mitsubishi does have the edge on Fujitsu for noise. The third and last system performance category we'll look at is efficiency. Both Mitsubishi and Fujitsu have a lot of systems that qualify for a lot of rebates, the Federal Inflation Reduction Act, tax credits that are that you can qualify for. So both manufacturers have great energy efficient products. However, Fujitsu has generally more efficient systems than Mitsubishi. Fujitsu single zones efficiency ratings can go up to the low 30s, whereas Mitsubishi's tend to end around the high 20s. So this is only one factor to look at. It doesn't, it's not the end all be all, but in terms of statistics, we do see that Fujitsu has a narrow edge on energy efficiency compared to Mitsubishi systems. The next category we'll cover is unit stylings. Now this is an important factor to look at when you're considering putting ductless systems all around your house. Compared to unitary ducted systems where they're typically in the attic or the basement, you don't really see them and you don't really have to care how they look. But ductless systems, you would see them every single day if you're living in a house, whether they're in the ceiling or on the wall or on the floor, depending on the unit style that you choose, you would most likely see them every day. Now, this category is mainly subjective. It's hard to quantify which one looks better, which one has better styling, but the general consensus that we have heard from people is that they like the look of Mitsubishi more than the likes of Fujitsu, and simply because Mitsubishi wants to be ahead of everyone in terms of making their systems look the most modern, and choosing the styles that represent the modern day desires, whereas Fujitsu is more concerned about having a classic look and meeting the needs of their customers in other ways. Another category that we can look at to differentiate Mitsubishi and Fujitsu is product offered. Now these two brands have gone head to head to compete to provide the US market with appropriate products that the consumers are looking for. So there's a lot of overlap. Both of them offer wall mount units, floor mount units, ceiling cassettes, ducted units of different types like horizontal or slim ducted, and the multi-position air handler, the traditional one that you'd see for most forced air systems. Now, the one thing that really differentiates them is that Mitsubishi has a one-way ceiling cassette that is not the traditional 2 foot by 2 foot squared cassette. So that one-way ceiling cassette could fit within a 16-inch joist. So it could be used for new construction or retrofitting without having to reframe anything. So Fujitsu doesn't have that right now. Maybe they'll develop that in the future. But Mitsubishi really has always been a pioneer in developing products for the US market, for the US consumer. And they have a team dedicated to designing products to meet the needs of US homeowners and business owners. So Fujitsu doesn't necessarily have that, but they do offer the rest of the products in both multi-zone and single zone, but there are limitations which we'll talk about in the next category. The next category is single zone versus multi-zone compatibility. What we'd like to say always here at Ductless is that Mitsubishi are multi-zone kings. They do a great job of taking units and making them both single zone and multi-zone compatible. Versus Fujitsu, which they have almost all the same products that Mitsubishi does, but there are a lot of limitations as to what you can connect to a multi-zone system. So let's just say you have a house where you have the first floor, you want all the same temperature and you already have maybe existing ducting, and the second floor or the third floor, you want ductless. So for Mitsubishi, you're able to connect a multi-position air handler into where maybe an existing air handler was, and then you can connect maybe ceiling cassettes on the second floor or wall mount units on the third floor, whatever your scenario is. Now for Fujitsu, they don't allow for compatibility between multi-position air handlers on a multi-zone unit, so you have to use wall mount units, cassettes, things of that nature. So there is that downfall on the Fujitsu side. Fujitsu's fairly simple when it comes to multi-zones. They're focusing on the most popular systems, so that's wall mount units, ceiling cassettes, slim ducted units, and floor mounted units. Now the limitation that Fujitsu also has on the ducting side is they only support slim ducted indoor units. They don't support medium static slim ducted units, so if you're trying to install one of those pancake type systems, they only have the slim duct, which doesn't have much static pressure to push air long distances. So there's a limitation there. So all in all, when comparing Mitsubishi versus Fujitsu, Mitsubishi is really great to customize your house to your liking depending on the indoor units that you want in your rooms. The next category we'll look at is pricing. Now this is where what we like to say, where the rubber meets the road. This is where a lot of people would make decisions based on the pricing. Now, Mitsubishi and Fujitsu similarly have been priced for a long time. They're very similar, with Fujitsu always being a little bit lower than Mitsubishi. However, in the last, I'd say 2 years since COVID, Fujitsu has really wanted to beat Mitsubishi out in price. And so from what our position is and our perspective, Fujitsu is about 5 to 10% less than Mitsubishi at this point. Now you can argue why this would be the case. This is not just because Mitsubishi is wanting to charge their customers more. We've seen Mitsubishi outpace Fujitsu in research and development, in unit stylings, in system performance, durability, things of that nature, and it would justify Mitsubishi being more expensive than Fujitsu. However, recently, in the past few years, Fujitsu has become much more affordable than Mitsubishi, but you have to choose what you are prioritizing, whether it's price or whether it's some of the other categories that we're talking about in this video. Another category we'll cover is durability. Now, we already covered warranties, and we see that the warranties of these products are very similar, if not completely identical. Now, that says one thing about both manufacturers, in that they want to stand behind their products. But what actually happens behind the curtains? What actually happens in real life? Does Mitsubishi last longer than Fujitsu? Now, all these things can be answered in different ways, and it's very subjective as well. It really depends on a couple factors: how well people are keeping up and maintaining their systems, how they're installed, you name it. However, what we've seen across the board is that Mitsubishi is more durable and it's built more durably than Fujitsu. We've seen Fujitsu struggle with things like control boards and compressors, whereas maybe we see a little bit less of that with Mitsubishi. Generally, from talking with people, we see Fujitsu breaking down a little more often than Mitsubishi. However, like I said, it really depends on the factors of installation, maintenance, and the like. Another category to consider is availability and inventory. We've sold and distributed Mitsubishi and Fujitsu, and we've seen their strengths and their weaknesses. For Mitsubishi, we've seen a strength of theirs being that their whole product line is available in inventory for sale for anyone that wants it. For parts, we've seen, since they are stocking a large, the vast majority of their product portfolio readily, their parts tend to be a little bit slower and come direct from the factory. Now for Fujitsu, we have seen that stocking their most popular products is very common, and the parts for those popular products are very common. However, for some of their newer, maybe less popular models, those tend to take a few more days to come from direct from Fujitsu to get to the end user. So that tends to be more commonly the logistical strategy, so keep that in mind when shopping. Now, one of the last categories we'll cover is additional features. Now, this can vary depending on the features that you look at. However, we'll just look at filtration and Wi-Fi capability. For filtration, Mitsubishi does a better job of providing more nanofilters and just a better job of providing different types of filters for their systems, whereas Fujitsu also offers a fairly standard, fairly practical filtration system. And so when you're more concerned about filtration, maybe Mitsubishi is the way to go. And the second one is Wi-Fi capability. Both of them offer Wi-Fi capability, and both of them, as of right now, don't have built-in Wi-Fi. They're adapters that need to be purchased and installed either at installation or after installation. Fujitsu's Wi-Fi adapter is more affordable than Mitsubishi's, and both Wi-Fi apps aren't the greatest when it compared to other technological offerings like Nest and Ecobee. So both of them are able to be adapted, and you're able to use third-party thermostats to control these systems. So in that way, they're similar, but from a technological standpoint, Fujitsu tends to be more technologically edged, where they're producing more technological features than Mitsubishi, who's probably more concerned about system performance. We hope this video really helps you compare Mitsubishi versus Fujitsu mini splits. Now, there's a lot of other factors to consider, whether that's rebates and tax credit eligibility and things of that nature. So there's always different factors that you can look at, and I think each application is going to be different. But hopefully the categories we talked about today will give you at least a starting point of maybe canceling out which brand you might not use because of one of the categories we talked about, whether it's price or whether it's indoor unit style or combination. Each person, each application is going to be completely different. But Ductless is here to help walk you through deciding which brand to go with depending on your needs. If you need to know what units, what sizes to go with, or which style to go with in whatever room, we're here to help design your system with you to make sure you get the system that you need from an unbiased source. So if you have any questions, feel free to call us, contact us, whether it's chat, email, or by phone during business hours, and we'd be happy to help you. And if you like this video, feel free to like the video and subscribe to our channel where we talk about all things mini splits. Hope to see you on the next one.